This episode of the Commercial Real Estate Investor Podcast is brought to you by my CRE Accelerator Mastermind, where you'll get access to my step-by-step investment blueprint, essentially a library of resources on how to invest in commercial real estate. You'll get connected to a supportive community of other commercial real estate investors that are doing projects just like you. You'll get personalized coaching and feedback from me every step of the way. Go to www.crecentral.com to learn more. Welcome back to the Commercial Real Estate Investor Podcast. We are giving Chad a hard time because he has a good hockey team and he's wearing an Edmonton Oilers hat, and we're all not very happy for him.
Well, Jesse's happy. Jesse's happy. The Leafs are doing well.
So far, so good.
No kidding. Yeah, dude.
Well, and the Hurricanes. You're right.
Hurricanes, baby. Let's go.
3 out of 4 of us actually have a good hockey team to cheer for, Tyler.
This is awful. Like I mean, come on, being a Nashville Predators fan in a room full of you guys, this is, dude. And we got totally snuffed on the lottery as well. We got 5th overall, which is like, dude, if you're gonna have one of the worst teams in the league, can you at least get first or second pick? Come on, not this year, boys. Not this year. I wish you all the best. That's a good question. I have no idea. Probably the Blackhawks. They always get it. I feel like they always get first. Anyways, we're not here to talk about hockey, although I feel like the 4 of us could probably start our own podcast talking about our opinions on hockey. That'd probably be pretty interesting. We're here diving into off-market mastery, how to find unicorn deals in any market, whether you're a commercial real estate broker, which you probably are if you're tuning into the Brokers Roundtable, or you are a commercial real estate investor. Finding deal flow, creating deal flow, finding unicorn deals is the way to make this business work, right? So we're going to kick it off first with direct to owner deal flow. I want to learn how you guys are building your prospecting list, how you're structuring your outreach, how you're crafting the messages that get responses, not leave you ghosted. So Chad, what data points or triggers are you looking for when you're identifying industrial owners that might be ready to sell?
It's a great question, and I think I'd answer it a little different than the direct answer that you're looking for. And I think I'd say that the best thing you can actually do is just be talking to people all the time, because you never know when a life event triggers them to have to sell. I mean, the easy one is if it's a company that has a sunset clause, if it's a GPLP or a fund and they have a sunset clause and they have to sell after 10 years, well, then you're going to diarize that the fund has to move something. But quite often it can be an event that happens very quickly. It can be another opportunity comes up and they just need to liquidate a property in order to fund the next one. It can just be a life event that happens. So I think the key is just constant and regular communication with every owner. And whether that's quarterly, like minimum every year, I would think that you want to be calling every contact and providing some value. Here's a market report that we just put out, or here's an interesting sale that just happened. I thought I'd tell you about. Anything changed in your world? Have you thought about selling, or you're looking to buy? Very easy conversations, but you have to put the work in because you just never know. And the worst thing that happens as brokers, I'm sure all 4 of us would relate, is when an event like that happens and a guy lists his property and you could have listed it, but you just didn't contact the guy. So I think that's just the key. You just have to, every contact that you have, every person that owns real estate in your market, you've got to be contacting them at least once a year, ideally once a quarter.
Happens all the time. That's it. Put it on a 90-day rotation and make that contact. Even if you're going to be lazy and shoot a text message, do something, right? Make sure that they know that you're still in the business. Jesse, let's talk about office. How do you find office landlords that aren't actively listing? Like, how do you go approach them? What gets their attention?
So I think what you hope to get to is the point where landlords are reaching out to you when they have vacancies that are coming up that they don't want to market yet. I think kind of that's part of the end goal. But on that side, what I try to do is lead with a specific requirement. Landlords like to see active users. So what we track at our company, and it's, you can do this in any market, you don't need to be at a big shop, is tenants in the market. We call them our TIMS list. And we basically track the different companies that are doing deals in your area. We break it down by size, requirement, timing. that type of information, if you can talk to landlords about and see if they knew, Amazon looking for 400,000 square feet right now in this area of New York or this place in Toronto. I think that type of information is critical. But then talking to them about the timing, landlords sometimes they have something a year out and they just wait to list it. And you might be able to say, like, we have some clients that, or some tenant clients that don't want to transact until a bit later, mid next year, end of next year. Do you have any availabilities coming up? And if they say yes or no, you can segue that into a conversation about, oh, what's your typical process for listing? And that's usually how we start the conversation. And then from there, it's just like Chad said, you stay on top of it and constantly be updating. The other stuff that kind of mentioned as an aside, I assume or should be kind of table stakes, is that if you have relevant market data, you're communicating that to them. Anything that you can keep the conversation going.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, one thing that we're working at getting better about is sending out postcards to the market every single time that we close a deal. Brokers will do
Yeah.
that occasionally, but I mean, if you're doing it every time you're closing something, hey, we just leased this, hey, we just sold that, hey, we just helped a client buy this. It's just another reason for you to let your clients know that you're actively doing deals. And so you stay top of mind. I love that, Jesse. Adam, you're the king of one-liners, man. What's your go-to opening line, or what's your pitch when you're cold calling a mom and pop retail center?
I'm just mad that Jesse went in front of me because he just like totally stole my answer. So we're lucky enough in our shop to have a pretty robust tenant rep platform as well. So he was talking about that Tim's list. That's just perfectly said. That's always my opener when I'm talking to these guys. It's like, hey, I'm calling you because I have this tenant that wants to be in this general area, and your center kind of matches that criteria, and that's always my opener to figure out kind of where they are in their process. Have they considered selling it? So I take almost that exact same strategy. It's like the easiest backdoor entrance because, as you guys hear me say all the time, I'm always trying to figure out a way to add value. So you come into them like, hey, so-and-so chop salads or whoever is looking in this market, it doesn't look like you have any vacancy or the right kind of vacancy, but what do you have coming up? And I always use that as my foot in the door to figure out what their plans are. So, nothing new under the sun, right? We're all using the same strategies.
That's exactly right. There's always some sort of an excuse for you to call somebody, right? Whether you're representing a tenant, you're representing a buyer, you're representing a seller, it doesn't matter. It's a great way to touch base and just in a no pressure way, get an idea for what they're looking to do. And then you can start to build that relationship.
My world's so small too, right? Like the type of retailers that I work with and the types of areas I play in. I mean, there's not 100 brokers that are doing the same thing I am in Charlotte. There's 15 or 20, and there's not 150. There's not 1,000 landlords that have the type of stuff that I look for. So you definitely want to have an excuse to get in front of those kind of high priority people as much as you can.
That's right. That's exactly it. Let's jump into partnering with investors, kind of going a little bit beyond just your typical go-to market brokerage strategy. Chad, when you're building relationships with these investors, one of the many benefits that you can have is pocket listings, right? You'll have investors that say, hey, I don't really want to take this to market, but I would be willing to sell if you find me X. I mean, how do you go about building relationships with property owners in that respect to where they bring you some of those off-market opportunities?
Yeah, another great question. And coincidentally, I just sold a property, just removed the subject twos on Monday, which was exactly that. It was a several $1,000,000 industrial property that never hit the market. But I've been doing the leasing on the building for 10 years now. And I sold another one of the guys' buildings off market as well 5 years ago. So you can have the relationship by just understanding their needs and wants. And it's difficult in some markets where it's hard to really do sales and leasing at the same time. If you're in a big market, you're probably going to have a capital markets team that's going to want to handle a lot of those, or you might have someone that focuses just on sales and just on leasing. But in this particular case, I've done all the leasing on the building. I just kept asking him when he wanted to sell. And this was the last property that he owned and just sold it. to another one of my clients whose construction company is going to occupy part of it. So that's one of those unique scenarios where I knew a guy who was looking for a property, and I knew of one that would work, and it just so happened I had to keep asking, and having a relationship when you do the leasing is really key. So I think you just need, it all circles back to that constant communication. You said it best. Even send a text. If that's all you're doing, just send a text. But if you're not having that constant communication, there's no way you'll know about these properties, because if you don't have a relationship of some sort, they're not calling you to give you a one-off opportunity. I was the only person that knew about this opportunity, so it never even went to anybody. If someone just reaches out to you cold and says that they're telling you about this off market, they're probably reaching out to 100 other people. So at that point, it might as well be actively marketed. So you have to have a relationship with the client. It has to go beyond superficial communication. You actually have to understand what they need, what their exit strategy is, when they plan on selling, what that's going to look like. And the only way to do that is to foster a deep relationship with them.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, when you're working on opportunities like that, typically the investor, the seller, wants to keep it very, very private. They don't really want people to know about it, which means they're probably not willing to share information. So, I mean, Jesse, like, considering that, right? What do investors, what do maybe listing brokers need to see from a potential buy-side broker before giving you a first look at the deal? Because that's how, if you can get that first crack, you have like a 90% chance of winning it.
Yeah, I mean, it's not surprising that the guys and gals that do a lot of listing work, they typically have a list of people that they'll go out to first if they can kind of avoid mass marketing, and that's dependent on where the market is. I think that part of it is doing the work and being the person that does those type of deals in the market for them to actually send you that information. Staying top of mind with the ownership community in your market. So, for instance, even if they have brokers, and as long as you're not stepping on any toes, we try to keep up with any of the development that's going on in the area. Landlords love gossip. If you find out there's demo clauses in this building now, and all of a sudden there's a possibility that something might be redeveloped, that's just an example of staying on top of the market and knowing what's going on. But it's really hard to say anything aside from the fact that doing the work, knowing that this is the type of vertical that you're in. So if it's multi-res, you do this type of multi-res at this size, and you know that you transact. And I think the other piece is it's great to do deals, but I think we touched on this the last time we were chatting. If nobody knows you're doing these deals, then it's kind of pointless. So being able to take those deals, the wins, post them on LinkedIn, ask for referrals, get yourself out there so that you are the expert in this specific area in real estate.
That's right. I mean, if you don't post about doing CrossFit, are you really doing CrossFit? It is the exact same on the brokerage side. Adam, the best brokers in the world, man, they start co-investing. They start actually partnering with a lot of their partners, right? Because once you get to a certain level, you start to realize as a broker, you bring a lot to the table, depending on the scenario, right? Some institutional groups, like, they just will never do that. But talk to us about a retail deal that you've done where you structured some sort of co-invest model, and what did that look like?
It's my favorite type of transaction to do. If I could find enough of them, it'd literally be the only thing that I would do. But unfortunately, if I get more than one a year, I'm thrilled, right? So I haven't gotten to the point where I can build my entire business around it and not do the other things. Because I absolutely love it. So the things that I've been very successful, or the times I've been very successful, I either have a tenant in tow that happens to be the perfect fit for this building. So I'm driving down the street, there's a building, looks like shit. I've got the perfect tenant, and I literally go in and structure the deal, put together at least the debt piece, and then I go out and structure the equity piece, because the tenant is the secret sauce that kind of makes this building work. Maybe it's a little overpriced, maybe it's just there's some hair on it, but once you have the tenant in tow, it kind of makes it work. The other way is just establishing, both the guys said it, like making sure that everybody knows kind of what your expertise is and the deal flow that you're doing. I've gotten to be kind of the guy that is the broker and has the tenant relationships, but also understands the development side. So I've been lucky enough for people to come to me saying like, hey, we're putting together this group. We want you in the GP side of the deal because we know that you're going to have first crack at the tenant. We know that you're going to help us with potential kind of restructuring of the retail, repositioning of the retail. We know that you're going to add enough value there for you to be in the GP. So either being able to add a tremendous amount of value from the tenant side, or just putting in the work over the years, getting the gray hair and being able to help add enough value to your side of the expertise where you're actually wanted in the GP. But again, I would encourage anybody listening to this, like, that is kind of the next step on the ladder, the next rung of the ladder, to be able to go in and start participating in deals. Because the biggest thing that it's done for me is it helps you think, operate, gets you in the shoes of an owner, and it just enables you to communicate with owners differently. It takes away a little bit of the broker speak, like he's just trying to broker me kind of mentality, because we get paid when we close deals, right? We're incentivized to say whatever we got to say to get a deal closed. Once you are in the ownership side of those things, for me, it's just really helped me in the way I communicate, and the way I think, and the way that I'm able to put myself in an owner's shoes, even if I'm not invested in that particular deal.
Yeah, I've closed a lot of deals that way, right? Saying, look, I understand it from the ownership perspective. I'm not going to put you into a deal that I wouldn't do on a property on my own, right? And that means a lot, right? And not a lot of brokers can actually say that. There's plenty of guys out there that purely broker, they'll never invest. And that to me is kind of wild, but there are those guys out there. Data
Brokers
and AI.
die broke.
Yeah. There's a reason broke is in the name. Data and AI. It seems to be kind of changing the way that we prospect, right? So I want to hear what you guys are doing. I mean, Chad, when it comes to prospecting, are you using any tools like Reonomy or Levitate or ChatGPT to kind of streamline your prospecting?
No, I'm pretty old school. Well, I shouldn't say old school. I have a pretty sophisticated CRM that I rely on, but there's no AI integration into it. I use AI for other things, but in Canada, which Jesse and I are in, unfortunately, we don't have a Reonomy, which I know people that use it in the US and they swear by it and think it's an unbelievable platform. Hopefully it comes to Canada at some point, because I think it'd be a great tool. But yeah, I'd love to hear from you and the others on this, because I'm genuinely curious as well on how to do it. So yeah, I'm old school.
Yeah, I'd love to. I was like just picturing you when you were saying like, no, I'm pretty old school, like pulling up a yellow phone book. This is my CRM.
Thick.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm happy to dive into kind of what we're doing. Nothing crazy. Just
I'd actually
ChatGPT.
love to hear that too.
Yeah, well, so typically what I'm doing is we'll go into the local tax records and just download the properties, right? I mean, because you can do all of that for free, and then I'll have ChatGPT just analyze it. Like, hey, based on what you think, these factors would be. Here's what I like to invest in. Which of these prospects should be at the top of the list? And you can take 5,000 records and narrow it down to 100 like that, right? So again, doesn't completely change the way that you prospect, but damn, does it make it a little bit more efficient and faster, right? And that's how I think that you use AI today. I think it's a tool. It's like a nail gun, right? To me, whenever somebody says like we're building our company around AI, like there's AI brokerages out there. I'm like, could you imagine if a roofing company went around saying we built our entire company around a nail gun? It's like, what? That's just like a tool. What are you talking about? Like, yeah, everybody uses a nail gun. So I don't know. That's kind of how I feel about it. But Jesse, what about you, man? What sort of data source or tech stack are you using to help you identify office deals?
Yeah, kind of new things. I guess two buckets. I look at like tech as one, and then technology slash AI as another. Some of the older school technology, we started using new hires, which is a new thing in Zoom Info, where you can basically say who your buying group is. Say it's CFOs or heads of real estate, and then you can put in notify me when there's a executive change in that role. And we have a kind of an automated email that goes out when that happens, of saying congratulations on the new role. As is obviously seen as part of kind of your wheelhouse, or what your role is. So that's kind of been automated. One of the things I've found with AI is that a lot of the stuff, like there's one way to do it that I think is more AI than not, but there's still stuff that, like what you're talking about, analysis. So for instance, as a tenant rep guy, I'm never expected to look at the financials of my company and really evaluate them. As a listing person, yes, that's part of the job. But even then, you have people that have that role. A lot of times, if you just want a back of napkin understanding of the risk of your client, and they've given you the financials, sometimes I'll just remove all of the sensitive information and just say, like, listen, with this asset, with this balance sheet, this financial statement, how would you summarize the risk of this tenant from the landlord's perspective? It just helps you as a broker to be a little bit more knowledgeable about it. But I'm reading the AI Edge by Jeb Bloat, which is fanatical prospecting author, and a lot of what they're talking about in this book, I'm starting to understand how we can attach this stuff to our world, but also being careful to garbage in, garbage out, and understanding what you're feeding AI. And just another small examples, even if you have CoStar or something like it, a lot of times they have lease expiries, which sometimes they're accurate, sometimes they're not. But they oftentimes have move-in date. So I can take like 1,000 or 1,500 move-in dates and go, plop it into ChatGPT and say, listen, give me all that information, but spit out if there was a 3-year term, a 5-year term, and a 10-year term, and give me those potential expiry dates. Stuff like that, where if you did this 10 years ago, it'd take you forever. Now you can do it fairly quickly. That's what I think. To your point, I think AI is going to be used as a tool, and it's going to be evolving pretty much every day for the next foreseeable future.
Yeah, we actually use it significantly more on the property management side than I do really on the brokerage, because I'm able to take all of the emails that we've received from a tenant with regards to a certain subject, their lease, any amendments, any bids, scopes of work, whatever that is, drop it all into ChatGPT, take their latest email and say, with all of this information, just draft me an email response to this. And it's so much better than I could ever do it, which really sucks to say, because I'm like, man, all of that school that we went to learn how to write emails, and now I don't even have to do that anymore.
You know what? I'll give you a quick, cool example, and any of listeners or viewers, or you guys, if you want to just use this. One thing it was great for is we were trying to do something different for email cold outreach. I said to my partner Jordan, I was like, "Why don't we give a flow chart and keep it very simple? Your lease is expiring within the next 12 months. That goes one way on the flow chart. Your lease is expiring over 12 months." And it was just a one pager that kind of broke down, okay, the potential to renegotiate an early extension. So we kind of did that, put it into ChatGPT, took maybe 5 to 10 back and forths to get it nicely done, and we wanted to edit certain areas. But it basically said, as an email, no matter what, you're doing something. You either expire this before or you expire after. Here are your options for each. And I like visual graphics. So if I see sending that out, A/B test it, where you actually have verbiage, or you just have like, here, I thought this might be of interest to you. This is what tenants are doing in your area. And you have that that infographic. So that's one thing that it would take me forever to do 5-10 years ago. I'd be going to Canva. I'd be like, do I need a rectangle? Do I need a circle? So it just spits it out.
Well, that is, in my opinion, the best way to sell today. It is to educate, right? It's to not overly sell anything. It's just, hey, by the way, wanted to make sure that you are aware that this is happening, and here are your options. If you need anything, call me. Dude, they're probably going to call you. Nobody else is doing that. That's brilliant, Jesse. That's awesome, man. Adam, what about on your side? Any automation or analytics on retail tenant movement? I mean, aside from Placer AI, is there anything else out there?
Yeah, that's literally what I was going to say. I mean, Placer AI is kind of the big leap in retail.
How are you using it?
in so many different ways. I mean, just their mapping by itself, their heat mapping and their trip counts that they're able to do. I mean, you can literally see, like, take one market and understand, like, this is the future. Like, this part of town is the future. This part of town is dying a slow death, or this part of a shopping center with these tenants seems to get way more traffic than these types of tenants. I mean, it's really their creepy ability to tap into every one of our freaking cell phones is, it's a little weird, but it's incredible the type of data that you can get. And they've just done, like, they're on the retail specific side. Everything about it is way better than CoStar, is way better than all of their competitors, and they're proud of it. I mean, they're trying to get me to re-up right now for a pretty penny, and I don't want to do it, but and hopefully nobody from Placer is watching this right now, but it's so much better than everything else that I'm probably not going to have a choice. And I can't imagine what their stuff is going to look like in 5 years, because it came out of nowhere. I didn't know what Placer was 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And now it's truly incredible. I've honestly been taking notes while we're sitting here talking. I sat down, I mean, on the ChatGPT side and the true AI side. I use it a lot for just data stats for just kind of macro retail data. It doesn't work nearly as well if you're, like, boiling it down to, a certain submarket in a really hot part of town. There's no data around that, but just like how a lot of my institutions, they just are super data hungry. So for me to be able to come in and compute some big data that I can use as kind of a top layer and then drill down into a submarket, that type of stuff is really helpful as well. But I keep waiting for that kind of killer app for AI that I can use kind of throughout my business cycle. Like how do I go through my contacts and sort the wheat from the chaff, and how can I use ChatGPT or another user to help me really dial in my outreach program. Like, I'm sure that's all coming. And I'd love to be kind of a canary in a coal mine on that kind of stuff, but I just haven't seen something that really grabbed me that's worth, the time and effort it's going to take to dig into it.
Yeah, if you've got that and you want 4 guys to test it out, I think we know some people, so give us a call. We want to check it out. Robert is saying, does it help to be a licensed agent to find off-market deals? Not necessarily, Robert. I mean, maybe a brokerage will teach you the secrets, but I don't think it's going to help you out at all. This will be interesting.
Sometimes it hurts you.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, now you got to disclose it. Want to get y'all's thoughts on this one. Julian is asking, do you think AI can help cash flow and manage people better? Is anybody using it for that? Like analyzing your expenses, or, I mean, I'll say, like, from the people side, it's helping me put together better emails and manage my team better, because I have, like, Read AI or Otter AI in, like, all of our conversations. And instead of me personally having to remember every single conversation I have with the team and, oh yeah, who was supposed to be responsible for what, it puts together the notes and sends them out to everybody, and it's taken care of. So, I mean, in that respect, it's amazing.
And what's your favorite note-taking app version?
I use Read AI. I think Otter's pretty great too. I use Otter for just, like, as soon as we're done with this podcast, I upload the audio into Otter and get the transcription. But Read AI is better for jumping in on the phone calls with me. I don't know why, but for whatever reason, I think I had Otter not show up one time, and I was like, all right, Read it is. So that's kind of how I feel. Gentlemen, thanks for joining me. If you were listening on Apple, podcasts or Spotify or YouTube, go look at the description. Reach out to Chad, reach out to Jesse, reach out to Adam. These guys would probably be very glad to hear from you, especially if you are wanting to buy some commercial real estate in their markets. Thank you guys for joining us. We'll see you in a couple weeks for another Brokers Roundtable. Y'all enjoy.
Just
This episode of the Commercial Real Estate Investor Podcast is brought to you by my CRE Accelerator Mastermind, where you'll get access to my step-by-step investment blueprint, essentially a library of resources on how to invest in commercial real estate. You'll get connected to a supportive community of other commercial real estate investors that are doing projects just like you. You'll get personalized coaching and feedback from me every step of the way. Go to www.crecentral.com to learn more.